For over a century, Canada enjoyed the greatest strategic luxury a modern nation could ask for: 3 oceans of buffer and a superpower for a neighbor. Safe behind walls of ice and American military dominance, Ottawa treated defense spending not as an existential necessity, but as an optional diplomatic line item. But by 2026, the ice is melting, and the neighbor is changing. What is happening across Canada's defense infrastructure right now is the most radical, jarring military realignment in the country's post-war history. Confronted by an increasingly assertive Russian presence in the high north, Chinese ambitions toward a polar Silk Road, and unprecedented political friction with Washington, the illusion of absolute security has shattered. In response, Ottawa has abruptly ended its era of continental defense freeloading, launching an astronomical $61 billion annual spending surge to reach NATO's 2% benchmark. Yet beneath the massive headlines and multi-billion-dollar checks lies a deeper, far more complex crisis. Canada isn't just buying hardware, it is racing to rebuild a military that was nearly allowed to rust away.
For decades, Canada's relationship with NATO's defense targets resembled a persistent diplomatic friction point. While Eastern European allies bordering Russia poured resources into their frontline forces, Canada consistently ranked near the bottom of the alliance in GDP allocation. By 2025, that position became politically unsustainable. With a volatile political climate in the United States and blunt warnings from both sides of the American congressional aisle, the Canadian government faced a stark reality: maintain the status quo and risk losing the continental protection of NORAD, or spend. Ottawa chose to spend. Through an aggressive infusion of over $9 billion directly into the Department of National Defense, combined with an accounting overhaul that brought the Canadian Coast Guard and essential veterans services under the defense ledger, Canada officially crossed the 2% milestone in early 2026.
Yet even this historic surge is only a baseline. As the geopolitical landscape darkens, NATO planners are already looking beyond 2%, signaling an aspirational 5% goal for highly exposed nations by the mid-2030s. Canada has pledged to follow this trajectory, earmarking an extra $81 billion over the next 5 years. But defense experts are quick to point out a persistent Canadian flaw: declaring a budget is not the same as executing a strategy. Nowhere is the friction between political ambition and material reality more visible than in the skies. The Royal Canadian Air Force is currently managing a fleet of legacy CF-18 Hornets that have been flying since the early 1980s. Despite sophisticated structural extension programs and the acquisition of second-hand airframes from Australia to keep the fleet viable, the operational strain is immense. Internal reviews reveal that less than half of the country's fighter fleet is combat-ready at any given moment. To replace them, Canada originally locked in a $19 billion contract for 88 fifth-generation F-35 Lightning II stealth fighters. It was supposed to be a done deal. Then, continental geopolitics intervened. Faced with escalating trade and sovereignty threats from Washington, Ottawa has placed the bulk of the F-35 procurement under a prolonged strategic review, firmly committing to just 16 initial airframes. In the interim, Canada has turned its eyes toward alternative hedges. Sweden's Saab has countered with an aggressive proposal for 72 Gripen E fighters. While lacking the radar-evading stealth properties of the F-35, the Gripen was built for the exact scenario Canada faces in its vast, remote north. It can operate out of austere, 800-meter improvised highway strips, thrives in sub-zero environments, and can be fully serviced by a minimal ground crew in minutes. Simultaneously, Canada has secured observer status in the Anglo-Italian-Japanese Global Combat Air Program, or GCAP, keeping a foot in the door for 6th-generation technology. It is a striking procurement paradox, an Air Force flying 40-year-old jets while concurrently holding the line on a stealth fighter, flirting with a rugged fourth-generation alternative, and window shopping for a futuristic platform that hasn't even left the drawing board. If the Air Force faces a hardware crisis, the Royal Canadian Navy faces a human one. Canada is tasked with patrolling the longest coastline on Earth, spanning 3 separate oceans. The current vanguard includes 12 modernized Halifax-class frigates and 6 brand-new Harry DeWolf-class Arctic offshore patrol ships. These ice-strengthened vessels are highly capable platforms carrying advanced maritime helicopters, drones, and Arctic deployment gear. Yet, for long periods, much of this shiny new fleet sits idle at the pier. A severe recruitment and retention bottleneck has left the Navy critically short of specialized marine technicians. At points, the personnel shortage has been so acute that only a fraction of the newly built Arctic patrol ships could be fully crewed at the same time. Despite this workforce deficit, the commitments on paper remain staggering. Canada is pushing forward with the construction of 15 new River-class destroyers, a multi-billion-dollar surface combatant project based on the British Type 26 design. Even more ambitious is the Canadian Patrol Submarine project. Aiming to replace 4 obsolete diesel-electric boats, Ottawa is exploring an unprecedented fleet expansion of up to 12 modern conventional submarines, eyeing bids from German and South Korean shipbuilders to monitor underwater transits in the rapidly opening Arctic basin.
Ultimately, Canada's military evolution in 2026 boils down to one fundamental question: can money buy readiness before time runs out? While billions are flowing into defense accounts and modernized special operations structures like CANSOFCOM remain world-class, the structural bottlenecks, from an outdated procurement system to an existential recruitment deficit, cannot be solved overnight. Canada is rapidly transforming from a nation that outsourced its security into an assertive, self-reliant middle power. The multi-billion-dollar investments are no longer just about satisfying foreign allies, they are about maintaining a sovereign grip on the top of the world. As the Arctic ice continues to recede, the global scramble for the North is accelerating. Canada has finally written the check to join the fight. Now it has to prove it can build the force to back it up. Subscribe to Dark Notice for more deep-dive strategic analysis. In our next episode, we look beneath the waves at the secret underwater acoustic networks transforming the balance of power in the North Atlantic. Hit subscribe and don't miss it.